get up, let me begin. This is TWUSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is TWUSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik Wright, presented by the 𝗬𝗡𝗙𝗏 Sports Network. I'm your host, Malik Wright, joined by my co-host, always, 𝗦𝗘𝗢𝗍𝗪, Marissa on the ones, twos. A lot of stuff to get into, but before we do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or we upload content from the TWSN studios. Listen, it's a Thursday night. Obviously, got Thursday Night Football, Giants taking on Eagles tonight. But before we jump in all that, man, I want to start off in the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo. There are trade rumors swirling right now about Giannis and his future with the Milwaukee Bucks, from his family going back to Greece. Obviously, Doc Rivers came out and said there's no truth to that. However, it just always feels like this is something that is, first it felt like it was driven by the media. Now it feels like it's Giannis definitely being disgruntled and probably wanting to head to a better situation. Daniel, what are your thoughts on Giannis Antetokounmpo potentially wanting out of Milwaukee?
He gone, man. He gone. Like, this is a take in the NBA that I am so confident. I am so confident. And if I'm wrong, I will eat my words. But he is not a lifelong Milwaukee Buck. It's not going to happen. It's not feasible. It's not realistic. It just doesn't work. There's so many times in sports where you get a feeling, right, that whether a team is going to implode. Like, I kind of looked at the Miami Dolphins this year, and they kind of had the sense all around that this team might implode. Too many moving parts. And with the NBA especially, it's an organization that it is star driven. And there's many instances. Look at Anthony Davis with the New Orleans Pelicans. He requested a trade. So many instances. Kevin Durant, from his stint with, the Golden State Warriors, to moving on to the Brooklyn Nets, to moving on to the Phoenix Suns. There's so many times in the NBA where you just have a feeling that this guy is not going to last if you don't do anything special. Devin Booker is another prime example. While he's on the Phoenix Suns, the reason why I believe he's still on their team is because they've made massive moves to attempt to actually change their organization. They went out, they got Bradley Beal, they got Kevin Durant, they tried that. Then they went out and they traded Durant, and they got in Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green. So I say all this to say the Milwaukee Bucks the past couple seasons, while they try to go out and get Damian Lillard, outside of that, they're not doing a whole lot to go out and help out Giannis in a way that's actually feasible to win an NBA championship, because that's what he wants. That's what he said. This dude is 30 years old. He's approaching his 31st season, or 31st age season in December. He's not long for Milwaukee, Malik. He's got 2 years left on his contract and then a player option. And when I look at this team, it would be different if I could see the path to championship success. And if they don't go out this year and do one of two things, either have an improbable run like the Indiana Pacers did last year, or go out and trade for somebody that can be his true co-star, I'm very confident that this upcoming offseason, we are going to have the conversation of he is requesting a trade. And the reason why I'm also so confident is there's a lot of options for him to go to. We'll talk about, obviously, the New York Knicks were the main team that were brought up. They've got the trade assets to do it. The Miami Heat is another team. They've got Miami. Giannis has been linked to Miami. He said he loved Miami. They've got the assets to do it with Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. They've got multiple first-round picks. You got, Nikola Jovic, Jaime Jaquez. There's NBA teams that are willing to trade for a guy like Giannis. You look at the San Antonio Spurs, another team where they've got Victor Wembanyama, and they have a plethora of these young guys on their team that they could realistically trade to the Bucks for a Giannis. So I believe what he says, and he wants it to work in Milwaukee. But at the end of the day, I can't see him staying his entire career there. He won a championship. He's given his all to the city. And I just don't think that they're doing their best right now to put him in a position to succeed. So I see him this upcoming offseason, requesting a trade, and I think he'll be traded.
Well, I want to touch on a couple of things you
Yep.
said there. First and foremost, offseason. I don't know if this lasts until the offseason. I could totally see another blockbuster Giannis Antetokounmpo dealt in season. It just feels like it's heading that way. And I think that you could see a team that is probably looking to contend this upcoming year making that move, especially if things get very contentious, if things start to spiral, which I don't know if any of us are sitting here right now as it stands in October feeling that, the Bucks could be prime players this year in the East. And I don't think that they could be. I think that seeing Dame leave was probably left a bad taste in his mouth, right? It feels like nothing that they do has worked, right? And it kind of goes back to, why did they bring Damian Lillard in? Well, they brought Damian Lillard in to be the second star, the co-star next to Giannis, so they could alleviate some of the pressure from Giannis, so Giannis doesn't have to be the main scorer night in and night out. That all being said, it did not work out for whatever reason. Obviously, Dame dealt with his injuries as well. He seemed like he maybe have lost a step to a degree. But I got to be honest with you. I feel for small market fans, small market teams, right? Because this goes to show you, no matter how much you give to a city, the big markets, the big time markets will always win for these big time players, right? It's going to be a matter of time before we see the rumors swirling about Nikola Jokic probably at some point. It's just a reality. These brands, right? The NBA makes a whole lot more money, right? If big time stars like a Luka Doncic is in LA or Giannis Antetokounmpo lands elsewhere, it's a tough sell in Milwaukee. No one wants to watch, respectfully, Milwaukee basketball. And the NBA is better off pushing for their big stars to be elsewhere. It's the reason why. Think about it this way, and I hope I'm making sense. Think about all the big stars or the up and coming players that people are extremely high on, guys like Walker Kessler. What are they trying to do right now? You could feel this is an agenda being pushed, right? Obviously, there might be teams that are interested, but there are a bunch of teams interested in players. But why is the agenda so strong to get Walker Kessler out of Utah, right? It's one of those things where no matter where these players might play, if you play in a small market team, even if you win a championship like Giannis Antetokounmpo, at some point the league is going to come calling, because the league is telling us right before everyone's eyes, we want to see Giannis in a big market before his career is over. We want to capitalize on Giannis Antetokounmpo. And honestly speaking, you and I have talked about this off air before. I'd love to see Giannis end up in LA. I think that makes a lot of sense for life after LeBron. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. You can't tell me that the Lakers can't basically pull off any trade after they pulled off the fleece of the century, if you ask me. Or even you talk about Miami. For Giannis being a family man, I don't know if that works out for him, because I think he's going to have a lot of temptation, a lot of things thrown his way in Miami. So what basketball star who's damn near 7 foot wouldn't love to be in Miami, right? All the attention, all the glitz, all the glamour, all the brand deals. You would instantly be the man, but then you have to ask yourself, how does Giannis fit in with Erik Spoelstra? Does it work together? There's so many contributing factors, right? There's so many interesting dynamics that would take place for a Miami deal to happen. You talk about them having the assets. I don't know if they have the assets. I think maybe, but like, what are you going to offsell? You're going to offsell a Tyler Hero? Are you going to offsell a Bam Adebayo? Like, what exactly are you getting if you're Miami and you trade for a Giannis Antetokounmpo? Now, that's a loaded question, right? That's not a question I'm expecting you to necessarily answer right now, nor was I asking necessarily for you to answer, but more so, I think that the league is pretty much just telling us, hey, we want to see Giannis in a big market before his career is over, and we're willing to do anything to make that happen. Daniel, that's why I think for a lot of reasons you mentioned, he's entering his 31, he's going to be 31 this season. I don't know if I see this dragging out until next offseason. I think this gets figured out in season. I think some team puts their nuts on the table, a lot like how the Lakers did for Luka Doncic, and I think some team pulls the trigger and they get a Giannis Antetokounmpo in season. Is that team going to be the New York Knicks? I have no idea. I have no idea. But I can tell you right now, and I was supposed to be in New York City this week to even have a debate and talk about this one-on-one live, but I don't think the New York Knicks are winning anything with Jalen Brunson as the lead man. He's a non-factor defensively. They have to take him off the court, right? Because he doesn't give them the best chance to win, and teams target him. So how could a guy be your best player but also be your worst defender? How could a guy be your best player, the face of the franchise, but also is a liability out there on defense. So does a move like that make sense for the New York Knicks? Because any move that would include Giannis Antetokounmpo moving to Milwaukee, moving from Milwaukee to the New York Knicks, I've got to think Jalen Brunson would be in the conversation, and his dad is an assistant coach there. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. So again, there are a lot of contributing factors. It'll be interesting to continue to talk this thing through. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think. Somebody had brought in the comment section, Malcolm W. says Toronto could be an interesting option. Toronto is my favorite basketball team outside of the Boston Celtics. I love the Toronto Raptors. I love how they get behind their players, and it sucks because they have a player. Right now, they have a guy in Scotty Barnes, who's the face of the franchise, who's good for maybe 18 to 20 points a night, and everyone's expecting him to take that next leap. And ladies and gentlemen, he has shown you who he is. RJ Barrett, I like him as a player. I think he makes a lot of sense. I think he could be a good option next to a Giannis if they were to make that move. But maybe I would be a fan of Scotty Barnes being traded to Milwaukee for Giannis Antetokounmpo, maybe some future assets. I think that makes a lot of sense. I could be on board for that. But I've been talking about. You got anything else you want to kind of add before we move on?
Yeah. Last thing, I like the Toronto thing, and one thing to note about them, just NBA wise, they moved off of their general manager. So their new general manager, he said, "Hey, this is not going to be the same team by the end of this year. He's going to make moves, and we don't know what that is." They just added Brandon Ingram. I'd be kind of shocked to see that core of Ingram, RJ Barrett, quickly. And Barnes kind of make it through the entire season if they're not fully contending. So we'll see with them. But for me, Malik, like I'm gonna put my flag on it just so I have this note, man. I think the San Antonio Spurs are the team. Like I think that is by far and away the team that makes the most sense from a Milwaukee side, because you can get the young guys that can.
San Antonio who?
The Spurs.
So you would pair Wemby up with Giannis.
I personally
won't let that happen, because at some point, I'll be honest with you. At some point, the league is going to pull Wemby away from the Spurs too. At some point, at some point, the only thing that has uplifted the San Antonio Spurs is Greg Popovich and his legacy. That is in the legacy that he leaves behind. But at some point, mark my words, Victor Wembanyama will not be a Spur his entire career. The league will listen. The league is telling you they do not give a about small market teams, and San Antonio is not necessarily a small market, but they're not the same glitz and glamour of an LA, of a Boston, of a New York. At some point, the league is gonna have to put asses in seats in Brooklyn. At some point, the league needs Brooklyn to be players, right? At some point, the league is also talking about that expansion franchise. What does that look like? But I can tell you right now, if they are planning to launch a team in Las Vegas, which has been heavily rumored, you bet your ass that one of these big time stars that we're not discussing right now, or maybe we are, will become the fixture of that franchise, because the league needs parity. But I promise you, Victor Wembanyama is not long for the same. You know what I mean? I'll go on to say a second part. It wouldn't shock me if Victor Wembanyama signs another deal there, right, after his rookie contract, and then gets traded. Or a sign and trade. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if he signed somewhere else and the Spurs weren't willing to match, because I just think that, again, league needs parity. League wants players. And maybe it's a little too early to say Victor Wembanyama isn't long for the Spurs right away. But I think I just think that, I think the league is going to push for that. I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree, and it's just because, I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
No, I want to hear why you disagree. Let's talk about it.
I think
we don't do this enough.
Yeah, I know. I completely disagree.
So talk to me.
This team is set up for success. The only way this team doesn't succeed is if Wemby gets hurt, and if Wemby gets hurt, what are you gonna do? You're gonna offload him, and I don't think at that point it's necessarily Wemby leaving the Spurs. It's the Spurs trading Wemby away. I think that this team is loaded with talent. And I think that, like I said, I believe that this team is built for championship level. And I think that they are far closer to trading for a superstar like Giannis than they are to even thinking about Wemby leaving or anything. Like, they got De'Aaron Fox, who is going to be, I think he's a phenomenal third guy, which is why I believe that they should still pair somebody up with him. But we're talking about young guys that they have. They just had the number 2 overall pick, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. Like, this team is loaded with young talent.
I agree. And this isn't a conversation for me about the Spurs in particular. For me, this is a conversation about the league wanting parity and the league needing big name guys to be the face of the franchise. It has nothing to do with how talented that Spurs team is or on the up and up. And De'Aaron Fox being mentioned in the conversation as a guy that could help lead a team to a championship is laughable to me because he hasn't been able to do it just yet. Yeah, I know you're very high on him. I've never been that high on him. The point that I'm making still stands. Think about it. The league loves parity. Don't believe me? They pushed for Kawhi Leonard to go back to LA. Now, the LA that the league was pushing for him to actually go to was the Los Angeles Lakers to pair up with LeBron James. That's the parity they were pushing for, right? That didn't come to fruition. So what did he go? He went to the Clippers. They settled for that. The Clippers were supposed to be the next big thing. They had a new stadium. They had all these ideas, and it was supposed to be, the Battle of LA was supposed to mean something, Clippers versus Lakers. But the point I'm trying to make is, you tell me when the league did not push for a big star to be headed elsewhere. So what I'm saying is correct. What you're saying is also correct, but I think we have two different arguments. You're saying, well, this team is talented. I'm looking at it from a business perspective, and I'm saying, hey, the league wins out always in the end. If they want a player out, they're going to push for that player to be out. For years, we pushed for Dame Lillard to get out of Portland. We wanted to see Dame in a winnable situation. We wanted to see Dame next to another star. And we got that. For years, we pushed for James Harden to be out of Houston, to see James Harden playing with a big-time star, to be in a big-time market. And we got that. What I'm trying to say is, in the end, small markets always win. Here's a name we haven't talked about. What about the Philadelphia 76ers? When do they pull the plug on the Joel Embiid process? Because the process is dead. And I said that to you years ago. You said I was crazy. The process is dead. At what point do they say, you know what, we got Jared McCain, we got Tyrese Maxey. Let's go out there and get another East guy. And let's go out there and let's get who? Let's go out there and get Giannis Antetokounmpo and pair him up with those guys. What I'm saying is accurate. The league has always shown you it doesn't matter how talented you are or how much you up. Giannis won a championship for Milwaukee, and they're pushing for this. At the end, if you are not in one of these big market places, you are at risk of losing your superstar. Pacers fans, you've got to be crazy to think that at some point the league won't start pushing for Tyrese Halliburton to find himself somewhere else. If the league knew how good Tyrese Halliburton would have been, they would have been pushing for this a long time ago. Tyrese Halliburton has huge potential, right? At what point does the league start? Well, I guess OKC has become a little bit more marketable. But at some point, it wouldn't shock me if the chairs started growing more for Chet Holmgren to get out of there. Right? But again, he has to establish himself. And that's what these owners, that's what these fans are always going up against. They're always going up against the big machine. The league wanting to win, the league wanting parity, the league wanting guys to find themselves elsewhere because they want to know at the end of the day, how much could we sell that same last name on the back of that Spurs jersey, that same last name on the back of that Milwaukee jersey? How much could we sell if you're on the back of a New York Knicks jersey? How much could we sell if you're on the back of a Boston Celtics jersey or a Los Angeles Lakers jersey? It's the reason why those franchises have as many championships that they do. Now, every now and again, you get a little bit of parity. You get guys out of nowhere. You get teams out of nowhere that just show up and they win a championship. But ask yourself, why isn't it sustainable? Why isn't it consistent? You've got to be crazy to think the league does not push for it more. You've got to be crazy to think that they don't crave for it more. You know that's let's pull that comment up from Trey. It's the truth. Like he said Malik's rapping. He said the league been trying to get LaMelo out of Charlotte for years. The league has always shown their colors. As much as they tell you we care about the small market teams, they don't give a shit about the small market teams. They don't care. And you know what's funny? Those small market teams, I got a pleasure to work with a good friend of mine at my company, TWSN, Liam Walters. He's one of the most diehard Pacers fans I know. He bleeds for the Pacers. He supports that organization. But guess what? In a couple of years, they're going to rip Halliburton from him. Because that's what the league does. That's what the league does. That's why it sucked for them. They're going to hate me for saying this. It sucked to see them not win the championship. It sucked because I don't know if the Pacers are going to be back there. I don't know if the Pacers are going to be back in a spot to win a championship. When you're a small market team, you have a small chance to get it right. You have a certain amount of time to get it right. Because what's going to create parity? What's going to keep the league interested? What's going to keep fans interested? It's going to be, what did the Lakers do? What did the Boston Celtics do? What did the New York Knicks do? It's not going to be what the Pacers did. It's not going to be what the Minnesota Timberwolves did. It sucks. And that's why people have a hard time getting into the sport. Think about it with the Reds, the baseball. They do the same thing in MLB. You could be such a talented organization drafting guys. In a couple of years, they're going to rip Ellie De La Cruz from the Reds. He's going to find himself with the Dodgers or something like that, or the Yankees. Why? Because big market teams win in the end of the day. It sucks. It's horrible. That's why if you're a small market team, you better have a good front office. Right? Yeah. You better have a good front office. You better have a good front office that knows how to draft, develop, and to retain. I don't want to stay on this for so long, but think about how the league pushed so hard to get Steph Curry out of Golden State. Steph Curry is Golden State. They pushed so hard to get Steph Curry out of Golden State, but Steph Curry is loyal as hell. He stayed committed to that organization. And guess what? He made them marketable. These guys push, though. The league pushes. The league pushes hard. Every now and again, you get a superstar who's committed to the organization, who wants to see the organization win, who wants to see it through. And those guys are rare. In every sport you look at, those guys are rare. Parity sells, though. Just my thoughts. Let us know down in the comment section what you guys think. I didn't expect to get so heated on this Giannis Antetokounmpo topic, but I think Daniel and I agree more than we disagree on it. I hear where you're coming from, brother. I really, really do.
The only point I have on this, and like I said, I agree with you. The only point I have is they are in a position to change that. And that's why I think if they don't make another move, like this current iteration of their team, if they don't make a move for a superstar, I 1000% agree with you. What I'm trying to say is I think that this team is in the position.
You talking about the Spurs?
Yes.
Okay. Your argument is on the Spurs, right?
Yeah.
My argument is on the league's approach to small market teams as a whole. But that's why the Giannis Antetokounmpo topic is up here.
For sure.
My point is what I'm trying to tell you. The league is listen, the Spurs will go out and win a championship this year, guys. Yep. What is the league telling you? No, answer that. What is the league telling you? Because the league just told you it with Giannis. We don't care that Giannis won a championship in Milwaukee. We want him elsewhere. Wemby could win 2 championships with the Spurs. At some point, Wemby's going to don another jersey because that's what the league wants. Yep. It's a little bit different from the NFL, right? Because the players have a little bit more control. Endorsement deals are more lucrative. So you have the ability to have more things thrown your way. Kawhi was successful with the Spurs. He was as the heir apparent of all the greats. He was the next great Spur. That's what he was supposed to be. And he left. Yep. Because that's what the league wanted. And it was all to position, him to go elsewhere after that 1 year with the Raptors. So he got traded half a seat, right? Won a championship and then left. It's just a fact. It's what happens. But at some point, the league is going to need the Philadelphia 76ers to be players too. They haven't been. They're one of those big teams. They're forgotten about. The league doesn't like that. Yep. So at some point, what team is going to what player is going to find themselves in Philadelphia? At what point, what player is going to find themselves into the New York Knicks? The New York Knicks have to find themselves doing something at some point. That's the conversation we need to be talking about a little more. It's interesting, though. Again, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. Hey, I want to talk about Bill Belichick and UNC rumors. There were rumors swirling yesterday that Bill Belichick and UNC were parting ways. Obviously, they come out, Bubba, the athletic director of UNC, comes out and says, hey, we're committed to Coach Belichick. Bill Belichick says he's committed to UNC. To me, if there were any lack of truth to that, if there was any lack of truth, why'd you respond? There was no need to respond. I feel like the writing is on the wall for Bill Belichick in at UNC. But I want to get your thoughts on that, Daniel. I think that the whole situation has been honestly an utter disaster. I think what the hope here is, hear me out, is maybe an NFL team will come calling for Bill Belichick, right? And at that point, the reason for leaving is a little bit more salvageable versus, hey, the greatest modern day NFL head coach got fired after not even a full season at UNC. And now an NFL team is going to hire him. That's a tough sell to a fan base. That's a tough sell to our organization. Whereas to oppose, a team came calling and it was a can't miss opportunity, so I left. And there are some teams that could be interested in Bill Belichick. This might be seen as a hot take right now in 2025, October 9th at 10:56 a.m., but I still believe Bill Belichick is a good football coach. I also believe Bill Belichick is a far better NFL head coach than he is college football coach. I think Bill Belichick wanted to stay active in the game for an opportunity in the NFL to arise. I think that's what he was hoping for. Whatever that said opportunity is, I have no idea. But I do believe Bill Belichick I still believe Bill Belichick is a better head coach in the NFL than he is at the college football level. And it's harder and harder now for these older coaches, these elder statesmen to compete at the college level. Number one, it takes patience to deal with young guys. It takes relatability. And it takes recruiting. It takes having the chops. It takes being approachable. I think Colin Cowherd said it so beautifully. When you're winning, people can put up with this, the attitude, the standoffish personality, the bottom line kind of Bill. But when you're losing, guess what? Well, people are not going to turn a blind eye to the attitude. People are not going to turn a blind eye towards all the things that rub people the wrong way about you. That's why they say winning cures all. At my company, if I had a content creator, a writer that was doing absolute numbers, would I feel the need to turn a blind eye to maybe their bad attitude or being a bad teammate? I don't know. But I could certainly see why an organization, when the bottom dollar is championships, put up with a lot. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I feel like I've seen this very clearly. The whole Bill Belichick thing. I think it's fairly simple. Number one, I don't see how he's long for North Carolina. I can't see it. And the thing I think that gives him a leg up for the NFL is it always takes two to tango, right? You said that, how it takes a head coach and it takes an organization. The number one thing I'm so confident in this is that Bill Belichick, he is a check mark on that. Bill Belichick would like to return to the NFL. And the reason why I believe that is you look at the trends, as well as looking at the trends of why it's not working out in North Carolina. First off, in the NFL head coaching cycle, he was interested in the Atlanta Falcons gig. He got an interview for the Atlanta Falcons gig. It did not work out, but the initiative was there. Bill Belichick wanted to coach the Atlanta Falcons, or else he wouldn't have taken an interview opportunity. He was there. He was in the building. So it shows that he still wants it. Also, who would be in his position and be number 2, number 3 overall in head coaching wins? He's 20 wins behind Don Shula, I believe. 26 or 20 wins behind Don Shula. He wants that record. And when I look at what is the path to getting there, it's not necessarily North Carolina letting him go. It's him leaving, right? And the reason why I'm also confident it's just a shit show there is there's been many instances, whether it was in the preseason, whether it was them doing a Hulu documentary, and all of a sudden they canceled it. Bill Belichick wants to be back in the NFL. I'm so confident that he would not have done, when he was available before the UNC job, he would not have done the Pat McAfee show. He would not have done College Football Game Day. He would not have done Monday Night Football, with Eli Manning and Peyton Manning. I'm very confident he wants to get back in the NFL. So when I look at the potential outcomes for North Carolina, he's not long for this job. They are 2-3. They are a poor team right now. They are getting dog walked, and it's a different ball game. We've seen coaches that have success in one realm fail in another. Nick Saban did. He tried it out in the NFL. It didn't work. Went to college and was the greatest college coach we've ever seen. I'm very confident that Bill Belichick is not long for North Carolina. And to be honest with you, like you said, if I'm an NFL team, there are desperate teams out there, man. Miami Dolphins, New York Giants, like.
But Bill shouldn't be looked at as a desperate move, though.
No, but he should be in the conversation. Like, he should be in the conversation. Like, if I'm looking at these teams, am I going to trust a first-time head coach, or am I going to go with the guy in Bill Belichick that has proven it? And if there's an organization that is willing to put up with the shenanigans, because there are a lot of shenanigans.
You think so? I don't think so.
There are.
I disagree. I think that I disagree. I think that the girlfriend thing got blown way out of proportion. Okay. And I think it's because Bill Belichick is dating a 20-some-odd girl, and he's 73 years old. And there's a lot of people that with opinions, because people have just this fascination of wanting to be involved in people's personal life. I think that's where the quote unquote distractions come from. Sure, you have your girlfriend on the sideline, yeah, but there are also coaches who've had their significant others on the sideline. That is not the first time. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it. The expectations were super high for Bill Belichick coming in because he's the greatest NFL head coach in the modern day era. He's had so many success. He's won multiple Super Bowls, and everybody's impatient, and everybody thought that the turnaround was going to be super quick and easy at UNC. Yep. That's what people thought. That is the bottom line of what has led to unrealistic expectations for Bill Belichick. Any coach, any college coach coming in, setting their recruiting pipeline, setting their board up, it's going to look a little different. It's going to take a while to adjust to. Bill Belichick, in my opinion, was dealt an unfair hand. Yep. And that happens when you're successful. Guess what? If you hire if you go out there and let's say, for instance, an NFL team that's struggling goes out there and they hire a coach, for instance, that has had a lot of success elsewhere or won multiple championships. If Nick Saban were to go coach the Saints, like that was rumored, or the Browns, that was rumored, right? If he goes and coaches one of those teams, what do you think the expectation is going to be for Coach Saban right away? What were the expectations for Urban Meyer when he came to Jacksonville? Why they paid him what they paid him? It's because you had so much success where you were. We're expecting you to do the exact same thing. And unfortunately, this day and age, 2025, you know this better than anybody. Everybody expects quick results. Everybody expects that. If the Bears don't make the playoffs this year, you know what the conversation is going to be? Did we get it wrong about Ben Johnson? Did we get it wrong about Ben Johnson? Because all the success he had with the Detroit Lions. There is no room to grow anymore. There's no room to grow anymore. So I don't believe that there's drama with Bill Belichick. Really? Is it weird that he has a vendetta against the Patriots for the way things are? Sure. Yes, I get that. Not wanting to post them and all that stuff like that. But that comes from a bad blood situation. We all know Bill Belichick has been petty, but he hasn't been petty because he's outwardly said, I'm petty. He's been petty because of the leaks that come out of, hey, Bill hates the Jets, or hey, Bill Belichick hates the Patriots organization because Robert Kraft was running his mouth about him. Like, that's not drama to me. That is the human emotion that he is allowed to feel because I gave you 20 plus years of my life. And you threw me aside. You had a coach on my staff that was the next coach in waiting, and that was written in his contract. He was the guy to replace my legacy. And y'all said he was the next Bill Belichick when everybody and their mom knew the next head coach after Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots should have been the guy that's the head coach right now in Mike Vrabel. We all knew that. It was a worst kept secret. That's why everybody knew 𝗪𝗏𝗪 was going to be one and done. Because they were going to hire the guy that they should have hired all from the start. You bet your ass. If I'm Bill Belichick, I'd be pissed to have that guy on my coaching staff. Right? Then the guy that's waiting for me to fail. The guy that's waiting for me to suck because I'm next in line. I'm the next coming of Bill Belichick. When you had the real Bill Belichick on the staff and things didn't work out for 𝗪𝗏𝗪, he was done after 1 year. You hired Mike Vrabel. 100% Bill has in every right. We all talk about why Bill's being petty. He's within every right to be annoyed with the Patriots organization. They screwed him over. They screwed him over. And then you had Robert Kraft, the owner, who you thought you built a great relationship with, talking about what actually led to the success of the Patriots, almost downplaying what you meant. When the Patriots, let's talk about it. We might be a little too young, but guess what? Luckily for y'all, I'm a history nerd. And I'll tell you right now, the Patriots were not that good before Bill Belichick. They struggled a crap ton. He made the New England Patriots, I don't know if you've ever been to New England, little team. Their stadium's in the middle of nowhere. It's cold as hell. He made them marketable. He made them, in some large parts, America's team, where people were watching them. How many primetime games did we see the New England Patriots on? He made Patriots such a marketable franchise for 20 plus years. So yeah, there's some bad blood there. 100%. People say, well, it was Tom Brady. Who do you think coached Tom Brady? Who do you think coached Tom? Who do you think made those decisions? They were a great team together. But Bill Belichick's legacy should not be downplayed. I'll be honest with you. It's uncomfortable for me to see people try and downplay Bill Belichick. All because, is it weird that he's dating a girl that is in her freaking 20s? Yes. It's weird. Is he the first guy to do that? No, he's not. He's not. It's just a weird fascination that everybody has with his personal life. Let's not assume what this girl's intentions are. We don't know what her intentions are, nor is it any of our business. Mm-hmm. But he's a dude who's lived and breathed football for his entire life, has won multiple championships. If he wants to date whoever, obviously within reason, it's an adult age, let them do it. They're consenting adults. Let them do it. That's not drama though. That's not news. I still think Bill Belichick is a hell of a football coach. And just because he dates a girl, like I said, that is in her 20s and it has not worked out with UNC, let's not forget all the good he's done. Let's not forget that the dude still could coach. Let's not forget with Mac Jones as his quarterback, he still led them to the playoffs. We forget about that. We've forgotten about that. But Bill Belichick is still one hell of a football coach. And I would love to see him return to an NFL sideline. That's my take on it.
Totally. And that's like my take on this Bill Belichick thing is, and I love the conversation. Like you kind of did a little tweet yesterday about, potential head coaches. Bill, if I'm an organization, I'm considering it. And I believe if he enters an NFL organization, I believe he can still be a great NFL head coach. The only problem I have is, and this is where I guess we kind of disagree, or you mentioned that there's some stuff with him. I just think it comes with a lot. And you have to be willing to be okay with everything that Bill Belichick is coming with. I don't think he's just, you bring him in like a Mike Vrabel and he just comes in, instills his culture, and that's that. It's the organizational pool. We don't know how much he wants, right? He was never fully offered, and never fully wanted it with the Atlanta Falcons, but there was some disagreement of how much control did he want? And at the end of the day, he is a media shitstorm, and that's the truth. And is that something these teams are willing to deal with? I don't think a lot of teams will, but if I had to predict, I'm confident that at least one team will take a chance on him. And like you said, I think he's still a hell of a football coach. And if there's an organization that has the structure, I don't necessarily know if he would do good year one in Miami. I don't know. But if there's an organization that has structure, if there's a roster that has structure, I think Bill could come into a team and have success. So, yeah.
I think where you land as a quarterback, because I see some comments in the comment section. I want to get some of this stuff. I think where you land as a quarterback is so important. And it's a conversation that I feel like I don't want to be lost on people. Liam said Mac should definitely be a starter. 100%. I'm the same guy that said Mac Jones makes a lot of sense for the 49ers back when Kyle Shanahan wanted him before he was overruled. The fact of the matter is where you land as a quarterback is so important. You need to be able to have a coach that is willing to grow with you and also build around your skill set. Mac Jones, he did fine in New England for the time that he had, but it's not a shock to me that he's having the success that he's having with Kyle Shanahan's offense. Also, it's a very quarterback-friendly offense. So if you're not able to work within the structure of that offense, you're probably not that good of a quarterback. That's why I'm very low on Trey Lance, to be honest with you. But I think that you think about the quarterbacks that Kyle Shanahan has had there, right? You talk about Brock Purdy. You talk about a Mac Jones now. It's not shocking that he's necessarily doing well. Where you end up as a quarterback is so important. Jimmy Garoppolo also had success there. I think that people forget Bill Belichick wanted to move off of Tom Brady because he realized he had another gem on his hands in Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's career turns out a lot different if he stays in New England. I think it turns out a lot different because people forget how good he was with the New England Patriots. What made Bill Belichick want to move on? And then, that was the beginning of the end of the relationship between him and Robert Kraft falling down. But I see Bill in the comment section saying he doesn't necessarily think that Bill was the best evaluator. I think we miss on that a little bit. I don't think Bill was. It's weird. Bill hasn't been good with the obvious picks, like the first round guys. He has hit on some guys, but it's always those mid rounds where he finds those gems. He's definitely found some guys that have been able to contribute and have good careers in the National Football League. He's certainly found some guys, especially at the offensive line. Those latter years with the Patriots, as they took back more power from him, not so much. But I'll push back on the notion that he wasn't able to get the most out of some guys like Danny Woodhead, right? Guys like Danny Amendola, right? He's been able to get a lot out of guys, albeit some of those were via trades. I just disagree. I think that Bill has done some really, really great things from an evaluator standpoint, and we have a tendency just to remember his misses. But I certainly think that, again, I'll say all this to say, I still think Bill Belichick can coach in the National Football League. I think that some team might actually pull the trigger and hire him too. And I could think of a few teams that he makes a lot of sense for. One of them being the New York Giants if they decide to move off of Brian Daboll. But let's move on to a different topic. Before we do, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. We're going to get to our Bengals talk here shortly, but I want to talk about the Raiders and Geno Smith. Geno Smith, I think he has the most interceptions of a starting quarterback in the National Football League this year. Do we think that the Raiders should move off of Geno Smith? Daniel, I know you like Geno Smith, so I'm going to let you start this conversation because you were extremely high on him going into this year.
Well, going into the season, I don't know necessarily how high I was on him. I like Geno Smith. And this is the problem I feel like with the Raiders right now is they're a shit show. Once again, I hate to keep using that word, but Geno Smith has been poor. He's been terrible. The question about them benching Geno Smith, my question goes to what's your alternative, right? We saw this, and let's go back to his days in Seattle, right, where it was Pete Carroll first came there, and I believe it was either Hasselbeck, and they also had somebody else. I believe they went out in free agency. They went out and they signed Flynn, and they also had Chervarius Jackson. Like, that was what Pete Carroll inherited with the Seattle Seahawks. They tried the free agency route, and I feel like that's what they tried doing this year. They tried doing the free agency route. You're getting a guy you're comfortable with, Geno Smith. Apparently, Tom Brady loved the Geno Smith thing. I mean, football IQ off the charts, can dink and dunk his way, can lead a methodical offense. It has not panned out. And quite frankly, he's got 2 years left on his contract. He's got an out after this season. He is not their franchise quarterback. They need to make a move this offseason for a guy. So I see a world where they could bench Geno Smith this year and try Kenny Pickett. But for me, what does that do, right? You're going to be punting on your season regardless. Kenny Pickett is not taking you to the playoffs. So I look at this team and I think that they have a lot of work that needs to be done. They have to build their trenches. Their offensive line has been putrid. They've been toying around with benching Jackson Powers-Johnson, not playing him. They got basically, no real consistent talent at wide receiver outside of Jacoby Myers and Geno Smith. That's something he's even said is, hey, I'm playing with these guys. They're new. They're inexperienced. Geno Smith is not the guy for the Raiders. It's done. He's 34 years old, entering his 35 age season. Like, it's wraps for him. Where I'm concerned for them is they have to hit on this next guy. They have to, because Pete Carroll's getting older. And he said, hey, I wasn't expecting to lose like this right away. Well, look at the roster that you're fielding. You got Max Crosby on defense, and that's it. You get rid of Christian Wilkins. You're getting rid of all these guys for the culture reasons. You're getting rid of Jermaine Pratt for the culture reasons. You got no talent on your team. So you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, if I'm willing to get rid of these guys, I have to also be willing to replenish it this offseason. So Geno Smith is not long for the Raiders job. He has been piss poor this season, but I also think that this is a thing with their entire situation. They weren't talented heading into the season. You took a running back at number 6 overall when you don't have a good offensive line. that's never a recipe for success. So if I'm looking at the Raiders, I think they need to hit on their quarterback, whether that's trading for a guy like Bryce Young this offseason, whether that's trading for a guy like Kyler Murray, or drafting their quarterback in the first round this season.
But also, don't trade for a guy if you're not willing to actually grow with him and build with him and realize there's going to be some hiccups along the way. I don't know if I'd love that spot for Bryce Young personally.
Really, I
don't know
think
if I'd
I
love that
think
spot
that
for him.
I think that if I'm looking at them, I think that's the perfect spot for if I'm the Raiders.
Mhm.
What am I doing? I'm either drafting a guy
Sure.
top 10,
Yeah.
or I'm trading for Bryce Young.
I can
And,
do that.
and the reason why I like it is because Pete Carroll's worked with somebody
Mhm.
similar in Russell Wilson, right? You get the undersized guy. You got somebody who has got a beautiful deep ball, but Bryce Young has not been very consistent. But still, when I watch their games, Bryce Young is good. He has flashes. He's still able to create plays. He's just not in a situation where he looks flustered. He looks terrible at times. I mean, he had a terrible fumble. He's doesn't look consistent, but he still shows flashes of being able to be a franchise quarterback. So I think so. I think so. And
Franchise. I think we throw that term around very loosely.
well,
I think
yeah.
I think what you mean here is he's shown flashes of maybe being a capable starter in the league. A
Mhm.
franchise quarterback is a guy that I don't know how I interpret it, is a guy you
Yep.
can see starting for your organization for about 10 years. Bryce Young, to me, has shown flashes.
Yeah.
Again, with a team like the Raiders, maybe he could. I just don't know if it makes a lot of sense for
Yep.
them in particular. I think that I would want to see him in a better situation. You know where a spot I would love to see Bryce Young end up?
Mhm.
The Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams. Because I think that is a situation that will get the most out of him. You will know exactly who he is in short order.
Yeah.
You will know exactly who he is working with Sean McVay, because he'll get the opportunity to show you who he is. It's a pass-happy situation where they try to put their quarterbacks in the best spot to be successful. That's the way I see it. But I do believe Bryce Young is talent. I do think that he has shown flashes to where he could be a starter in the National Football League. I think before we throw the franchise tag on him, you just want to see the flashes more consistent before you could say, you know what, I can get behind this guy fully. And again, it's going to probably take a second stop for Bryce Young, because I don't think that the ownership group is probably going to stick by him. I think they'll probably look to move off and see where they can get the most out of the quarterback spot. It's the most critiqued position in sports. It's the most important position in sports. But hey, I want to move on over to Bengals talk. Listen, Bengals went out there, traded for Joe Flacco, gave him a 5th. They gave the Bengals a 6th. Does this keep the Bengals' playoff hopes alive? Dare I say it does, to a degree? If Joe Burrow actually, in fact, is coming back, which has been heavily speculated, I think it keeps them afloat. They had to do something different from what they were doing, because doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is crazy. And starting Jake Browning again would have been, respectfully, crazy. It would have been a punt on the season. It would have been a smack in the face to your playmakers, guys like T. Higgins, guys like Jamar Chase. But also, this signals Zach Taylor needs to win. You don't go out there and make that move if you are not pressing the button telling Zach Taylor you need to win. And you don't have any room for excuses as to why you aren't winning. So that's all I have to say. I think the Joe Flacco moves keeps their playoff hopes alive, and it kind of goes hand in hand with our next topic. But the AFC North is so bad, and the AFC as a whole is wide open. So if Joey Flax can keep them in the fold until Joey B comes back, oh my God, we're cooking with grease. That's the way I see it. That's the way it kind of works in my head. This might be a hot take, man. I wonder if having a veteran quarterback like Joe Flacco will get the offensive line more settled. A guy that can get the calls and that can keep a certain poise about him is going to help everyone be less amped up. Because you could tell there was false starts. There was guys moving back and forth. There was a lot of unsettledness with Jake Browning back there at the quarterback position, which leads me to believe that the guys that he was playing with maybe weren't the most confident in him. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, man, I like Flacco. I like Flacco, and this is maybe I'm I'm being too positive.
Well, you
on
did a
this.
film breakdown. Now, explain to them why
Yeah.
you liked it. For those who didn't get a chance to check out the Joe Flacco film breakdown on the YouTube channel, it's there. People love it. But why do you love Joe Flacco? Let's give him some.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I appreciate that. I think when I look at Flacco, I'm going to compare him to what the Bengals have had with Jake Browning, right? When I watched Joe Flacco, I saw a guy who was able to methodically command an offense down a field, and there was multiple times where it is getting ruined by his wide receivers in Cleveland, right? The Cleveland Browns had a fantastic running game with 𝗦𝗙𝗡𝗕𝗏. Big time fan of him, but outside of that, Jerry Jeudy was not consistent catching the ball. Cedric Tillman was a non-factor so far this year. Isaiah Bond was dropping passes. The most positive part of their offense was their tight ends, David Njoku, Harold Fannin Jr. And I want you to ask yourself the question, why were these guys getting peppered with targets? Why were these guys seeing 8 targets, 6 receptions, 4 receptions? Both guys saw 10+ receptions as a whole in multiple games this year. Why is that? And it's because of Joe Flacco's style, right? When you watch his game, yes, he is immobile in the pocket. Yes, he is not able to be Lamar Jackson and run outside the pocket and use them on bootlegs often. But when the play breaks down and you go one read, number 1 is not there, number 2 is not there, check it down to your damn tight end. And that was there so many times. And that's what I personally like the most out of him is, hey, he's able to understand when it's time to get rid of the ball. His internal clock is far better than Jake Browning's within the pocket. He understands when the pressure is coming. And another thing is, this dude is still one of the more accurate passers in the NFL. I don't care what the numbers say. I watched his game against the Detroit Lions. I watched the game against the Green Bay Packers. I watched his game against the Cincinnati Bengals. He is putting balls on the money, right? And when you watch Jake Browning was not doing that. Outside of a couple big plays, he was not putting the ball on the money. And when you watch it, it is into these receivers' laps, whether that's over the middle of the field with his tight ends, whether that's the deep sideline shots to his wide receivers. When you think about T. Higgins and the 50-50 balls, I counted it. Jake Browning missed on at least 3 to 4 of those. Missed. Threw him out of bounds. Like completely not even giving his guy a chance. Joe Flacco will be able to give his guy an opportunity. So when we talk about the deep passing game, Joe Flacco has the arm to do it. Joe Burrow said, this guy is one of the most natural passers and got one of the best arms I've seen. And when I look at this guy at quarterback, that's what you need. You need an accurate passer. You need a guy who's going to be able to take his checkdowns. You need a guy who's not going to necessarily put the ball in harm's way when it doesn't need to be. Because we saw multiple times with Jake Browning, he would throw to a defender that he didn't even see. He would throw into triple coverage that didn't need to happen. That's not going to happen with Joe Flacco. You are going to see more tight end dump offs. You're going to see more running back dump offs. And that is a great thing because personally, when I watch the older quarterbacks, the Peyton Mannings of the world, the Tom Brady's of the world, Eli Mannings of the world, how they were able to get their downfield passing attack going is by taking the tight ends, is by taking the dump off. So I'm just a big time fan of what Joe Flacco is bringing, whether that's the deep passing game, the quick passing game, and quite frankly, able to conduct this offense with the play action. I'm a big fan of Joe Flacco, and quite frankly, he is an upgrade over Jake Browning. That's what I will take in this next 8 to 10 games that you need. I will take an upgrade over Jake Browning every single day. So, P. Kreischer said Flacco can throw with less anticipation than Jake Browning because of his arm strength. 1,000%. But dare I say, he is a far better anticipatory thrower than Jake Browning. You can see multiple times where receivers aren't even getting out of the breaks and Joe Flacco is still throwing the ball. So while his eyes may not be where they were with the Baltimore Ravens, he can still get the ball exactly where he needs to be. So like I said, I saw multiple games, and you could point to that Packers game. You could point to the Bengals game. While the offense may be the reason why they weren't necessarily putting up 20 points a game, he was consistently, methodically driving the offense down the field. And when you have weapons like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki and Noah Fant, you got to just put the ball where a playmaker can make a play, and Joe Flacco is the quarterback to do it. So I saw this dude win comeback player of the year 2 years ago. I saw this dude with the Indianapolis Colts have some serious success. I saw this dude with the Cleveland Browns have some serious success, in that 2023 season. And when we're looking at the schedule, Malik, if you're hoping Joe Burrow's coming back, you've got 4 games at the end of the season that are very winnable games. If I'm Joe Flacco and the question is, how do you keep your playoff hopes alive? You have to win 4 of your next 8 games. That is somewhat doable with Joe Flacco. And if you can win 4 of your next 8 games, that puts you in a position that if Joe Burrow comes back, you've got the Miami Dolphins, you've got the Arizona Cardinals, and you've got the Cleveland Browns. Those 3 games, if you win all 3 of those games, I think that this team could seriously make the playoffs. And like I said, I think Flacco can put the team in position to win 4 of their next 8 at least.
I think this could be a beautiful into the Joe Flacco era story. Sorry. It depends what it looks like, but I do think this could be beautiful. Nobody expecting anything of you. I'm just expecting more of a capable offense. I have 0 expectations. I'm just excited to watch football. That's the way I'm going about it. But everyone's writing you off. Everyone's saying that the Bengals have no chance with statue Flacco. We'll see. That's the beautiful thing about sports. They have no rhyme or reason. No one expected Nick Foles and the Philadelphia Eagles to go on the run they have. No one expected Daniel Jones to have a resurgence in his career. No one expected Sam Darnold to look as good as he did with the Minnesota Vikings, to the point where some Vikings fans were calling for him over their first-round draft. There's no rhyme or reason to football, but that's why we love this sport. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you Joe Flacco is going to lead the Bengals to this or that. I'm not going to say that to you, because for me, that would be taking your intelligence for granted. That would be me telling you that you're ignorant. Everything suggests that this is a terrible matchup. The offensive line of the Bengals has been putrid. Joe Flacco is non-mobile. I mean, everything says that this is not going to work. But what if it does? That is how I lived my life. People said I was crazy for moving to Cincinnati on a whim. What if it doesn't work out? What if it does? It's crazy to think I was going to launch player shows with player. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? So I'll tie this into that. What if it does work out? The plot is certainly there. He lost to the Packers. Beat the Packers early this year, but he didn't play the greatest. What if he did do it? It's like a division game for him. You get to see them twice. What if he did? So that brings us to my next point, Daniel. Who is the best team in the AFC North right now? Or not even right now, as a whole, because right now you would say the Pittsburgh Steelers are, as a whole. But who do we think is the best team in the AFC North this season? Who do we think is going to wind up being the team that rises to the top? The Browns are still alive. The Bengals are alive. The Steelers look good under Aaron Rodgers offensively. I think their defense is a little bit desired, but I think the offensively, yeah. And then the Ravens look like they're just ready to I don't know. What are your thoughts, though?
This is such an interesting division. The way I look at it, the Cleveland Browns have a scrappy team. They've got a scrappy defense. I'm not considering them right now. I think that they are going to punt on this season. They've got 1 win.
Kevin Stefanski gets fired if they punt on the season, right?
But I think that this team, I just don't see it right now, man. I think I like what I saw somewhat of Dylan Gabriel, but the whole questions of, hey, he even said potentially at some point, somebody else may get an opportunity. Like, what am I looking at with this Browns team? What's the upside? I don't see playoff upside with this team. I think that, like you said, they are a scrappy football team. That's the most I can give them. I don't think this is a playoff team. Like I said, I think they had one of the best draft classes in recent memory so far, knock on wood. But Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, Carson Schwarzenegger, like, they have hit on their picks. When I look at the rest of these teams, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, you hit the nail on the head. They are the best team right now. Are they going to be the best team by the end of the season? I'm very confident that's a no. I'm very confident that's a no. When I look at this team, they are winning close games, but they're kind of scraping by. I'm concerned about the Steelers, the lack of an offensive punch that they have. Their offense looks lethargic at times. You have Jaylen Warren. I love him in the passing game. It's checkdowns and DK Metcalf. That's all I'm seeing. You got Ben Skoranek out there, fantastic blocker. You got Scotty Miller out there dropping passes. I don't trust this team if they don't go out there and get another receiving target. I think that they lack a serious offensive punch. And the upside I see with the Ravens and the Bengals, is where I would lie with this. Like I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to make the playoffs. I think that they rightfully should be the favorites to win the AFC North. But if we're talking long-term, like playoff contention, I think that I would still favor the Ravens over them, and I'd still favor this. Like I said, it sounds crazy, but I'd probably favor a Joe Burrow-led Bengals team over this Pittsburgh Steelers team in the playoffs. So I don't necessarily have a full-on answer, but I think that the upside, even of the Ravens, like I said, I think that they are a complete mess right now. They are 1-4, I believe, but they still have Lamar Jackson on their team. So if they can somehow turn it around, they would probably be in that conversation. But I don't know. It's just a weird thing because I can see the Baltimore Ravens absolutely bottoming out. I can see the Cincinnati Bengals absolutely bottoming out. I can see these things. Do I believe that those things are going to happen? No, I think the Bengals bounce back. I think the Ravens bounce back. And I don't know. This is a very weird division to predict. And my biggest take is the Steelers need to go out there and they need to acquire a wide receiver that can pair with DK Metcalf. If they don't, I just don't have faith in this offense. And I like their defense a lot. I think that they have one of the most underrated defensive lines. You got TJ Watt, you have Cam Hayward, who's still playing at a great level. You have, Derek Harmon, you have Keanu Benton. They have a fantastic defensive line, but they've just been scraping by. And that's where I'm just kind of concerned with them. So I think the Pittsburgh Steelers end up winning the AFC North, but are they going to be the best team in the AFC North heading into the playoffs? I don't think so.
All right. Okay. Daniel with some strong takes there. We'll see exactly what happens. Make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or upload content. Remember, Fantasy Football Fridays will be here on TWSN tomorrow, so make sure you guys keep it locked here as well. One last thing we want to give you before we head on out of here is our best bets for Eagles versus Giants. Daniel, take it away.
Yeah, man, this is a divisional matchup. This is a grimy game. And once again, you guys can go down to the Patreon, check it out. We've got our full plays. I've got a big time play, and Malik's got his full plays there. Go check it out. Super affordable. But two plays that I'm a major fan of. Let's look at the New York Giants side, right? The Giants are without Malik Neighbors. They're without Darius Slayton. So that leaves Wan'Dale Robinson as their wide receiver 1. That leaves Jalen Hyatt as their wide receiver 2. And that leaves Bo Collins as their wide receiver 3. What the hell is Jackson Dart going to do, right? I'm going to look at his favorite target. I'm going to look at one of the guys that he's got a relationship with dating back to college, and this is a tight end, Theo Johnson. I think that he said it in his presser yesterday. Hey, I've been a big fan of Theo since I played him in the Peach Bowl last year. He scored a touchdown. I saw him in the combine. Or 2 years ago. He said, I saw him in the combine, and he's an athletic freak. This guy is a stud. And I just have a relationship. I'm consistent with this guy. He went 6 receptions on 7 targets last game. He had 2 touchdowns. The game before that, he had 3 receptions on 5 targets. Nobody else I'm confident in getting a ton of targets outside of Theo Johnson. And I think Theo Johnson's reception at 3.5, I just think it's too low. I think that this is a game where the Eagles could take advantage and they could dominate this game. And Theo Johnson is one of Jackson Dart's favorite targets. So I like Theo's over 3.5 receptions. Another one I like Saquon Barkley's over in receptions. This is one where this is the narrative game. Everybody's going to Saquon Barkley touchdown. Everybody's going to Saquon Barkley rushing yards. While I think both of those are decent looks, his receptions has hit in 4 of the past 5 games so far this season. He's getting used in the screen game. He's getting used as a wide receiver. He's getting used outside of the backfield. You just got to put the ball in your best player's hands, and that's Saquon Barkley. And you look at Alvin Kamara had a good game. Austin Eckler had a good game against the Giants. The Giants play a ton of man-to-man coverage, and that bodes well, especially if they put Saquon Barkley on the outside and using him in the dump-off game. So Saquon Barkley's over 2.5 receptions is a play I absolutely love. Like I said, I think that there's too many moving parts on this Eagles team for me to really go put my money behind A.J. Brown. I don't know what that workload's going to look like. I don't know what Devontae Smith's workload's going to look like, but I know Saquon's going to be out there for 75% of snaps. So I like that. And one last one I like, I'm just taking the Giants under team total, 16.5 points. The Giants aren't scoring 17 points. They're just not. The Eagles have a top 3 red zone defense. The Eagles have a fantastic defensive line. And when there is a team that is just dealing with a ton of injuries, I just got to fade them. This has happened too many times. I think that the Giants sure can make this a competitive game, but this is a low scoring game, and I'm willing to put my money behind this Giants team just having a abysmal offensive performance. Jackson Dart threw for 110 yards. His first game, he threw for 100 something yards. Last week, this team had 4 turnovers. I'm just fading this Giants offense altogether, and I think that this Giants team is not scoring 17 or more points. Give me the under on the New York Giants under team total points.
Well, you took a lot of things that I like today.
Really?
You did. It's okay though. I forgive you. My best friend. I do love Saquon's receptions. I agree with you on that one. I love Dallas Goedert also to have 4 catches today. He's been the one consistent guy for the Philadelphia Eagles where he's emerging even more. Theo Johnson I love, but if I can just throw one in there that's a little bit different, I really do like 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 over 2.5 receptions today. I know Tyron Trosey's expected to be back, but I don't think that messes up the target share that we're going to see 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 get. But again, those are all the plays that I absolutely love. Again, if you want our play, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon. All of our plays will be up there live. I'm thinking around 1 p.m. So make sure you guys do that. We'll have that all squared away for you. One thing I didn't mention is you guys spoke and we listened. We officially have our merch store locked and loaded. So again, if you want to support the show and you want to get yourself some TWSN gear or some State of the Jungle gear or some Sit Down with Malik Wright gear, that is all up and running, and we hope that
you're rocking it.
Yeah, I am rocking one of the stuff right now. I am rocking some. I guess I'm not really good at this whole pitching thing. We got that. I also, one of my favorite shirts that we have too. If you are a Bengals fan, obviously, the name of the company is TWSN, the Right Way Sports Network. We have 𝗬𝗢𝗢. This is probably terrible of me to even show this, but we have 𝗬𝗢𝗢, the Right Way, which is pretty sick. Again, if you want to get any merch to support the show or to support the guys, man, we greatly appreciate it as well. We're going to be doing some giveaways here shortly for it. But listen, that's all the time that we got here for today. We appreciate you for tuning in, waking up, making this show a part of your regular schedule. We'll be live again tomorrow for Fantasy Football Fridays with O'Hara and Bradshaw, and might be talking a little bit of UFC tomorrow with Evan as well. We'll see. But again, remember, there's only one way you should be waking up, talking sports, having the conversation, and enjoying it, and that is the right way. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
This is TWSN.